Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at EGS Expert Grading Services, now introducing new slabs to go along with custom labels. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename YouTube 02. Hi, I'm your presenter, Shabu Are You. Now, this is going to be an extra special episode because I'm one of the few selected individuals to showcase the new EGS slabs. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. They are here. They are here. So I know Jerno did his, Jerno's Comics did his yesterday or the other day. And today I got my books in. I went and I met with EGS President Tony, and he was kind enough to give me my books and wanted me to go ahead and present this for the world to see, because I know many people have been waiting with anticipation. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's the big deal? And the thing is, you have to understand that PGX and EGS are small companies. Their company sizes are less than 25 people, let's be honest. Where CGC is a big corporation with an executive board with bullshit focus groups and spreadsheets. So for a small company to facilitate a slab independently is a feat unto itself. Now, a lot of these kitty bops, like comic book investors and stuff like that, they don't understand business, or they didn't go to any school or anything to understand that you have to get a patent. You have to submit a patent for approval. Then you have to facilitate getting a manufacturer to produce said good in a mass amount. And then you have to worry about getting that said good shipped to your location and distributed to your site. What's going on globally in economic times, all of this shit factors in. And I know it's boring stuff. You just want to see the damn books, but you have to keep this in mind going forward. It is an economics feed onto itself for a small company to do this. So kudos to EGS. And it just shows that they're investing in themselves to be a viable option going forward for the comic book collector, for the comic book industry. Because like I've said in many unboxings, having a CGC only is a very dangerous proposition. You're talking about an epic collapse if CGC is one executive decision from screwing everything up. And again, this is not like stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I don't look at these books as investments. I look at stocks, bonds, mutual funds, IRAs, the right thing as the proper way to invest for retirement. But I cannot ignore the monetary aspect of this hobby. But the fact is, there's no regulating body. There's no FDIC. There's no SEC. It's basically the Wild West. And until there is a governing board appointed to oversee, it's basically, subjective, let's be honest. So, but there's with this set of guidelines from Overstreet. But with that said, I've always done these unboxings to show alternatives to CGC. I love using PGX. I like using EGS because of the options I have. I'm not a sheep following the herd, and being led by CGC to, if they crap in the box, people are going to support them. I'm not like that. I've been an auditor for 18 years. I've dealt with whether it's government auditing or corporate auditing, policy, procedures. I did all of that. And I just think it's very dangerous. And I've been screaming this for the past 2 years for everyone to put their stock into CGC only. So it's good to have, and you need to support these other smaller companies. So with that said, let's take a look at these new books. And a quick note for those that love to see what's playing in the retro gaming systems back in the background. Today we have Samurai Showdown #2 on the Dreamcast. Again, an SNK, wonderful game. So we'll do a late night episode playthrough of this game as well. So before we dive in, let's revisit some few things. Now this was the old EGS slab, basically a customized skin. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. I actually like these. If you could see in the background, many of them are hanging on the wall, and all you would need is one of these 3M command strips. Boom, pop it in there. You don't have to worry about it falling or anything like that because they're lightweight, they're thin. I know some people did not like the hinges at the top, and a lot of these kitty bopper YouTubers complained about it and said that this is very cheap or whatever. But you know, like I said, when you're a small company and you're starting out, you got to start somewhere. And to be a part of this, I mean, I still love these things. I think they're wonderful. Look at this, the custom label, you know, the stars and stripes, Elvira. Look at that, you know, it's good stuff. So while I do understand, I don't understand as well. But still, you know, you have to invest in your company if you want to be taken seriously. And that's what EGS has done. Now, with that said, since we're talking about CGC, here is a CGC slab. And I'm using the second print of Ultimate Fallout number 4, the first appearance of Miles Morales. And I think, you know, going off script right here, this is definitely a viable option and something that I think, you know, collectors should definitely be targeting is the second print of this Miles Morales. This is good value in this book as well. First appearance, this is definitely cool. But anyway, this has been the CGC slab for the number of years, just plain, simple, nothing out of the ordinary. So this is the dominant book. Now, the other company I support is PGX, and here's a PGX slab of the iconic She-Hulk issue number 40. This book has been skyrocketing. You probably watched my unboxing for PGX when I talked about this book and the whole She-Hulk special that we did prior to the show that came out on Disney Plus. But again, a nice, simple, clean book. I like, you know, I actually prefer this to the CGC book, but that goes without saying. Both, you know, I like the finish of the PGX a little bit more. You could feel it in your fingertips. So, drum roll please, let's start looking at the new slabs from EGS. The first book we're going to start off with is an iconic classic all to itself. If you're a child of the 90s, you remember this, and you remember getting 5 or 10 copies of this thinking you're going to be rich one day. And I'm talking about Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man issue number 1. Look at the new EGS slab, ladies and gentlemen. Ta-da! Isn't that a thing of beauty? Look at that. Try not to get the glare on it. But again, UV protected, of course, obviously. But look how now the custom label just takes this book to another level. If I was CGC, I'd be kind of shitting in my pants right about now, because now you have another alternative to being a sheep and following the masses. And I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, and I've done this, said this in many EGS unboxings in the past, because I've been doing this for 2 years. I've been supporting this company. And that when people come into this retro room that I have here, and they look at the books on the wall, they all gravitate to the EGS books because of the custom labels. They don't really care about it. They are, you know, this number is an afterthought. What does that mean? This book looks cool. Wow, how did they do that? It looks like art. Those are the comments I get with EGS books. And again, all Overstreet compliant. I'm a little disappointed that this book got a 7.0. And I'll be honest with you, I think EGS is a very, very hard grader. When I send this book in, I was actually expecting a 9 or at worst at 8.5. I'm going to be honest. There's several books that I haven't shown because they got low scores. And that's a shame because they look beautiful, but the scores are too low. And I just, you know, I just put them in the corner. But I'd highly recommend, if you're going to utilize EGS, make sure you get your books clean and pressed as much as possible. Don't leave it up to the grader at EGS to grade your books. Make sure you do due diligence and properly send in your books. If you want to get the full wow effect, like I'll show you some other books that I got graded by EGS, then you need to be on top of your game and make sure. Now, I've been doing this for several years, so I think I have some intuition as far as grading. And like I said, this 7.0 is a little dejecting, but at the same time, it should not take away from how wonderful this book looks and how out of all my crazy Spider-Man issue number ones, this one is going to be displayed. I mean, just because of the color, it blends seamlessly. From the custom label to the cover, it just looked like one thing. Boom. And that's what you're looking for. From the eye, the aesthetics, that's how it all flows with this book. Now, minus this, this is a wonderful book. And again, let's take a look at the back. Again, it's simple, plain, clean, but again, it feels thicker, but yet it still feels more lightweight. And you're shaking it, there's no movement in it. Look at that. That is a quality. Oh yeah, it's the top label. So they kept it pretty basic at the top, which is understandable. Remember, this is the first, Jerno's and then me. And then there's a couple more other people that are going to do unboxings soon. So we were the first ones to get the books graded to be able to showcase to the masses. So thank you to EGS and their president, Tony, for this. This is a wonderful job. So let's take a look at the next book. Oh, and like every EGS book, you will get an actual tangible piece of paper of your grader's notes. So this actually helps you become a better grader on your own. When you get these, and me being a former auditor / analyst, I actually studied these to see where I could improve, how I could self-assess my books prior to submission. So this is a wonderful tool to have. You don't have to scan a barcode, go looking for the grader's notes. You actually have, we're Gen X, so we like to hold shit in our hand. We like tangible stuff. None of this, it's nice to have grader's notes to accompany your book. So you get that with every single book, and you are with these new slabs as well. So the next book we're going to feature is actually interesting story all to itself. Now, maybe some of you millennials or younger people will not remember this, but once upon a time, they used to sell comic books at the checkout line in grocery stores, notably Archie comics, but also for a brief span, G.I. Joe comics were actually sold side by side with Archie comics in a similar fashion. So I wanted to throw a curveball to EGS to see how they would handle this one. And you know what? They knocked this one out of the park. And we're talking about the mini comic for G.I. Joe. Now, this is a special one because it was signed by Larry Hama. And if you guys know me or follow me regularly on the channel, every comic book that I get signed by Larry Living Legend Hama, I get graded and encased. We saw the passing of George Perez, Neil Adams, and Larry Hama is just as important to our childhood, especially the Gen Xers. He's the reason for there being a Todd McFarlane, being Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld. Modern comics don't give Larry Hama the proper attention and respect that he rightfully deserves. Don't make that mistake if you're following and listening to this channel. Appreciate Larry Hama while you can. And with G.I. Joe coming to an end in the IDW run, that's why it's more important that I get all of my Larry Hamas in case. Now, this got a 6.0, and that's actually really understandable considering what I just told you, that this was sold at a checkout line in a grocery store. And the funny thing is, at my old age, I can't read what's inside because of the print's so small. But this is a collection of issue 1 through issue 3 of the Marvel G.I. Joe series. This is the iconic issue number 1. Just to give you a comparison, this is the PGX newsstand of issue number 1. And this is the CGC newsstand of issue number 1. Now the big news is that at 10.0, CGC recorded a 25K sale. That's nuts. So, but these are treasured items. So let's go back to this mini comic. Now I wanted to see how EGS handled this, and it's actually interesting, and it makes sense once I talked to Tony, the president. He created just a simple yellow label at the background to accent the firing around the weapons that goes with this issue number 1 cover. Because if he had any graphics on top of here with all of this extra spacing, it would take away from that. So again, brilliant, brilliant foresight. That's how artists think, taking it to the next level. So with this custom label, he elected just to have a yellow, just to accent that splash that's in the cover. So you focus in on the book more so, and the signature, which is what you want when you have a book like this on display. I think that was very, very integral things that he incorporated with this book. So he hit this one out of the park. I mean, I think this is wonderfully done. Let's get a closer look. See, and Larry also signs the year that he signs the book. So again, this is wonderfully done. The next book we're going to feature is another Larry Hama signed book. Now this book got a lot of love, and it was a gift from a good friend named Robert Owen, who's also a fellow Phillies fan. So thank you, Robert, for doing this for me. It's so nice. But he too got me a Larry Hama signed issue number 23, Michael Jordan's number. Now this one got a really bad 4.5, but then again, let's take away the number and just look at this custom label with featuring Cobra Commander. That's what people are going to see, and how the colors blend seamlessly with the cover. Now, when you send in a key book or issue, like I said, make sure you get it clean and pressed. I think that this book, even though it got a very, very low score, again, you have to know who I am, and I love Larry Hama, and I love getting everything Larry Hama signed. And this is basically no clean and press, just as is. Just wanted to have it encapsulated. And also, it's my friendship with Mr. Owen. I think that's another thing that's why this book means something to me. And again, no rattling, no, nothing. Very nice presentation, beautifully done. And this is the type of stuff when you send in your books to EGS, you get that. It looks beautiful. I mean, yeah, it got a terrible score, but still, it came out wonderfully. If this was a 9 something, obviously I'd be ecstatic, but it shouldn't detract from the way this book looks. All right, so now we're going to feature the book that I really wanted to showcase, and I've been waiting to do this because this is the main, out of this whole lot, I think this is the book that I wanted to feature the most. And I was most concerned about actually sending it in. And because we are about a week away from Halloween, what better than the Mistress of the Dark? And that would be Elvira HorrorLand issue number 1. And again, let's take a minute to process this. Look at this custom label. 9.4, but that is beautiful. Again, a white cover. We all know how difficult white covers are. And again, this is the photo variant. I've been collecting, my regulars know, from the first Dynamite of our Mistress of the Dark, Shape of Elvira, Elvira meets Vincent Price. Now this is the new series where she goes through each horror movie and just pops up and insanity begins. But the collective photo covers we're celebrating her 40th year in showbiz, I think is wonderful. And this one is a home run. I mean, look at this. This is just a beautiful book. Look at that. So the next thing we're going to do, and I figured it'd be fun for all those, CGC fanboys, let's have a side-by-side comparison of these new EGS slabs with their CGC counterparts. Alrighty, so here's a side by side of both slabs, and you could see right off the bat, I mean, you take anyone off the street, which one do you think they're going to gravitate to? The one on the left or the one on the right? And I decided to use G.I. Joe issue 155. Just change it up a little bit, right? So again, like this book feels just a little bit more thicker, but at the same time, it feels more lightweight than this book. I don't know how to explain that, but that's really interesting. This feels a lot more sturdier, despite it being lightweight. And when you flip in the back, EGS keeps it pretty simple, but that indentation that CGC has right there. But again, like I think like the people at CGC should be a little cause for concern, because this is a viable option for those that just don't want to follow the masses and do what everybody else does. And again, like I've said, EGS books are Overstreet compliant. They have the right to be sold at prestigious auction houses like Prestige, Heritage. EGS has graded an Amazing Fantasy 15 at one point. So they are reputable and recognized as and compliant. And with issues of transparency with CGC and turnaround time and God knows what, it's important to support smaller companies like PGX and EGS. I know that that might not be a popular thing to say with a lot of these kiddos, but the thing is, you have to look at for long-term investment and what is going to make the hobby stable for duration. If anything happens, let's say, an executive decision or something that they move, and we've seen it with the Sears, we've seen it with the Toys R Us, we've seen it with the Enrons, we've seen it with countless companies that have had a strong hold over their particular field, make terrible business decisions and affect the entire market with their irresponsibility or lack of care for the consumer. The only way to make actually CGC better is to support these smaller companies. So you have 3 companies that are on par or close to being close for the value of the book than just having one company. So my final thoughts on these, and I wanted to thank EGS and President Tony for allowing me the opportunity to showcase this to all of you guys. And if you're waiting, be patient. They are getting graded and they are being processed as we speak. I think these came out beautifully. You can see in the background and before I've been a fan. I would say I strongly recommend getting a clean and press prior to submitting. He's a very, very hard, thorough grader. So I cannot underestimate that, that notion. There are a lot of books that I got, grades that were low, and I could not display them or what have you. And I just think that you need to be, as a consumer, make sure you take that and do the due diligence before submitting your books in. But again, overall, you get great customer service. You get your emails answered, or where CGC you don't know. I commend Tony for his hard work, dedication, and reinvesting into his own company. That's the important thing. And that's what us as a consumer, as the fan base, should take note of. That this individual, this company is in it for the long haul. And the only way they could grow is with your dollars and your votes and confidence. And it's important to do that for the long-term health and stability of this wonderful hobby. And the best thing that I've been enjoying in my 40s is my nephews and nieces. I let them pick out a graded book, passing that down to the next generation, because comics really, really develops young minds, develops a lot of things that we as adults may not see, it's not just a monetary value, like, this is worth this much money, or, whatever. That's why you invest in stocks, bonds, and stuff for investment. I'm not going to downplay the monetary value of this stuff. But at the same time, remember what the bigger purpose of collecting comics, that is to dream. Anyway, I think these are a home run. I'm excited, and I hope you guys are too. And I hope you're there to send in your books to give them a try. If you haven't, that's the one thing about these modern comic kiddos and all these like comic book investor, very Gary. And I don't mean any disrespect or anything, but they never utilize books. They criticize them, but I don't see them submitting books on their own. So you can't criticize if you don't use it or try it for yourself. That's just ignorant. And if you're sacrificing today's dollars, this book is going to get 5K today. Yes, your books from CGC are going to demand a higher price today. That is, I'm not stupid. But at the same time, what about 10 years from now? That's what we're all building towards, the long-term strength and stability, the long-term growth of this hobby. Now, if that's your only source of income, if you don't have a college degree or college kicked your ass and all you're going to do is, flip comic books, then I understand why you want to get the most money that you can. But at the same time, these books are just wonderful to enjoy. I think they're just wonderful pieces of art, and I'm enjoying being on the ride of this company's growth and development. Anyway, this is Shabu RU. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Codenamed TBR2. Take care.